All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today we're exploring a thought experiment that is honestly just fascinating and more than a little terrifying. What happens if London simply vanishes without a single trace? And to be clear, we're not talking about a natural disaster or an attack here. We're talking about one of humanity's oldest, most iconic capitals, a city of kings, global finance, and millions of everyday lives, being there 1 second and completely gone the next, leaving behind nothing but empty space and, well, an absolute global nightmare.
Picture this. You go to sleep in a world with this thriving, buzzing metropolis. You know the image perfectly, right? Big Ben standing tall, the Thames carving right through the heart of the city, those iconic red buses rolling past phone boxes. And then you wake up to an impossible silence. You look toward the horizon, and there is no Shard, there's no Tower Bridge, no London Eye. Just this vast, completely unnatural emptiness. Honestly, your brain would literally short-circuit and reject the image before your eyes could even process what they were seeing.
Section 1. The Impossible Morning. A world without a skyline.
In those very first few moments of realization, we wouldn't believe it. We'd assume a camera glitch, or actually maybe a massive power grid failure, because the human brain just isn't built to process absence on that kind of scale. And I think this quote brilliantly hits the nail on the head regarding the core horror of this scenario. A void is harder to understand than a wound. Think about it. Destruction leaves evidence. You can investigate ruins, you can track smoke, you can find survivors. But a complete, sudden disappearance, it leaves this terrifying blank space that completely fractures our fundamental understanding of reality.
Moving on to Section 2, the national collapse, losing the center of gravity. So, what happens next? Well, if London vanished, the immediate crisis for the United Kingdom would be absolute freefall. The nation isn't just losing buildings, it's losing the very center of gravity for its entire identity. Let's look at this timeline. A cascading failure rips through the country instantly. Minute 1, alarms are ringing everywhere and communications just fail. By hour 1, transport networks completely collapse into utter confusion. You have trains and flights routing toward a destination that literally no longer exists. By day 1, financial markets are totally frozen and the government is frantically trying to improvise without its central seat of power.
The scale of this collapse is just wild to think about. Parliament has to relocate on the spot. The monarchy is plunged into an unprecedented constitutional emergency. The Bank of England, frozen solid. The rest of Britain would suddenly feel incredibly disconnected from itself. It's like the magnetic core of the country is just yanked out, plunging Scotland, Wales, and every major English city into a massive identity crisis as they watch the news in pure disbelief.
Which brings us to Section 3. The global shockwave. A planetary emergency.
It wouldn't take long to realize this isn't just a British problem. London is so deeply, intricately woven into the architecture of global capitalism, international diplomacy, and worldwide communication. Pulling that thread creates a planetary shockwave. A collapse in global confidence would trigger this instant, terrifying domino effect. Major financial centers, from New York to Tokyo to Frankfurt, would feel the pressure immediately. Currency markets would shake, investor confidence would just evaporate, and the old global order would suddenly find itself missing its most crucial anchor.
0. That is exactly the number of cities that could instantly step up and replace what London means to the global system. Sure, maybe New York absorbs some of the financial traffic, or Paris becomes more central in Europe, but no single city can just magically replicate the unique diplomatic, legal, and cultural hub that London represents. It's irreplaceable.
But beyond the economic collapse, the emotional toll would be absolutely staggering. We are talking about a massive disruption of our emotional geometry. Millions of people would be grieving the loss of a city that was a cornerstone of literature, of music, of our shared human imagination. The physical map of the world might still have the same continents and oceans, sure, but its emotional geometry? Completely shattered.
Okay, let's look at Section 4, the search for answers. Where did it go? While all this practical chaos is unfolding on the ground, the deepest, most terrifying question starts dominating every conversation on Earth. Where the heck did an entire metropolitan area go? Scientists across literally every field would be scrambling for data. Geophysicists would be hunting for crust shifts, astronomers checking for cosmic interference, historians even scouring through mythological precedents for lost worlds, but they'd all eventually hit a brick wall, arriving at the exact same horrifying conclusion. Cities do not simply vanish in the normal world, so whatever is happening is way beyond our understanding of normal.
You can just imagine the internet, right? It would completely blow up with the most desperate theories, shifting the global panic away from the fear of a physical attack to a much deeper existential terror. Did it slip into another dimension? Was it some kind of quantum accident, a glitch in the simulation?
the fear suddenly stops being about an enemy we can point to and becomes this creeping dread that reality itself might be fundamentally broken.
The idea that the city might have somehow moved rather than just being destroyed would turn a modern news event into a real-time myth. People would be asking, is the city trapped, hidden, maybe suspended in time? Are the people inside looking back at us from the other side of some invisible wall? This concept would totally grip the human imagination, dragging stories of secret kingdoms and supernatural passages straight onto the evening news.
Finally, Section 5. The illusion of permanence. The blank truth.
At the end of the day, humanity would have to face a blank truth. Because for the people actually living through this nightmare, there's no magic to be found. There's only the sharp ache of unanswered phone calls, violently displaced routines, and a map that has just been erased. It highlights this stark reality. People can survive a bad truth way more easily than a blank one. If London were destroyed, as awful as that is, humanity could grieve, we could clear the rubble, we could rebuild. But the sheer agonizing uncertainty of not knowing, that forces the human mind to spiral. A blank truth leaves us with literally nowhere to put our grief.
This whole thought experiment really exposes a terrifying vulnerability we all share. It starts with step 1, the physical loss of a capital's infrastructure, which rapidly triggers step 2, a total collapse of emotional and institutional trust, and ultimately leads to step 3, humanity doubting reality itself and questioning the stability of every other global landmark. It really shows how much of our everyday civilization relies entirely on the psychological promise that major things, our capitals, our mountains, our coastlines, simply stay exactly where we left them.
But hey, human beings are incredibly adaptable. We really are. Despite the overwhelming devastation, our resilience would eventually spark this massive recovery effort. Emergency planners would step up to maintain order, and local communities would rally together to help however they could. But this long road to recovery wouldn't just be about rebuilding administrative offices. It would be about rethinking civil resilience and completely rebuilding our fundamental trust in reality itself, likely creating entirely new scientific systems just to monitor spatial stability.
So I want to leave you with this one final kind of haunting question. Can we actually live in a world where an entire capital city can just vanish and the planet still wakes up and keeps spinning the next morning? It really forces us to deeply examine our own fragility, our boundless capacity to adapt, and the profound illusion of permanence that we build our entire lives upon. Think about what anchors your reality today, and what you would do if it was simply gone tomorrow.